a token doesn't work, because then you're just decentralizing without that added economic incentive. So those are these two kind of forces: centralization, decentralization. And I think you're going to see interesting mixes and remixes between them. But that's one axis on which to cut it.
How do you think about identity in a blockchain world? How does it change the concept of how we understand identity? A lot of people talk about anonymity, privacy, but perhaps they're missing the bigger picture on how it's going to reframe our sense of identity. What are some thoughts on that?
I'll let you dig into it again, but I think at a very high level, you can have identity, you can have your wealth tied to anonymous identities in the blockchain world, which you can't do in the real world, or it's much harder to do in the real world. And then also in blockchain land, you can actually own and control your identity. Today, our choices for identity ownership are the government, which leaks social security numbers left and right, credit card companies, every waiter has your credit card, or it's Experian or whoever who got hacked and lost everything. It's Facebook. You trust Zuck with your identity, right? He'll sell you for like a 10-cent click ad. So all the ways that your identity gets held out there are just sieves. You don't actually own your own identity. Anyone here who's been the victim of identity theft knows how incredibly frustrating and useless it is trying to regain your identity. And then we talk about biometrics, where somebody lifts your fingerprint once and your identity is stolen for life. So I think we have a big problem where in a world where we have digital assets that our identities are all over the place. And the good news about crypto is that to secure your digital assets properly, they've had to build tools that are very, very good for preserving identity. So we're going to see a lot of effort spent by a lot of crypto entrepreneurs to bring personal ownership of private keys, identities, and passwords to the masses. And that's one area that I'm really excited about over the next decade. So if that happens, it's not just for securing your Bitcoin ownership, it's also for securing all of your identity data, including your medical records and your credit history and all those kinds of things.
That's right. I think your crypto private keys are going to be an anchor that brings a lot of stuff local. And that doesn't mean the cloud goes away. But what it might mean, for example, is that your private keys encrypt a lot of your data in the cloud and only you can view them, or only you can compute on them or something. One aspect of having private keys be local is that an identity system is effectively built into every cryptocurrency, because it's as if you have to sort of present credentials. You need to sign a transaction before it can be broadcast and accepted by the network. And that process of signing it is effectively an identity verification step. And so we can build a lot of stuff on that primitive, just like, your credit card might be looked at by the person at the counter and they just see, is that actually you? This step of identity verification can be used to set up new kinds of social networks, right? Where you're pseudonymous, but your balance shows that you're actually, an actor with some investment in it. You're not just a troll. You've put, 50 or $100 into a token governing this network. And now there's less incentive to just go and character assassinate people, because they have no character to assassinate. You just kind of have to discuss ideas, right? And you can pseudonymously troll them, but it's not, where's the fun in that, right? So I think that this entire concept is something I call the pseudonymous economy. I think in 20, 30 years, it's going to become much less frequent to put your, quote, real name on the internet. It's like putting a social security number out there or your personal phone number. It's this global identifier by which all the people who need to know it, and the people who don't need to know it can just use a pseudonym, maybe a realistic sounding pseudonym, but they wouldn't know it wasn't your real name, but they don't actually have that handle that kind of grabs you and that they can pull the database records on you.
We talked about blockchain and AI. I'm curious how you see blockchain intersecting with other emerging technologies, whether it's virtual reality or Internet of Things or even something like quantum computing.
Yeah, it's buzzword bingo. Quantum computing gets brought up as this could break blockchain and encryption. Not really. There are already quantum resistant hashing schemes out there, and in a very deep physics sense, quantum computing may actually help blockchains, because it turns out that doing the hash function and entangling things is easier than detangling them, even in quantum computing relative to normal computing. So it gets brought up as this, what about quantum computing thing? I'm not worried about it at that level.